Romance has many genres, including contemporary romance, historical romance, young adult romance, and one that has surged in popularity in the last few years, the dark romance. Well, some say that dark romance is just another genre, but it also takes a plunge into the depths of human emotion and desire, a dance with a danger, and an exploration of moral ambiguity. The skill of weaving a dark romance starts from creating deeply flawed, relatable characters to crafting settings that reflect the story's mood. If you're ready to explore the depths of this genre, let's dive in. Yes? With wishing you all an empowering day, this is Sindhu Panikar. Delighted and privileged to welcome you all to the 6th edition of Orange City Literature Festival, organized by SDR Knowledge Foundation, powered by Raisoni Education. Today, we have with us a celebrated author to voice on the topic love, loss, and second chances, weaving dark romance with realistic characters. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Sir Novoneel Chakraborty, a prolific author of 19 best-selling novels and e-novella and one best-selling short story collection, with his works being translated into multiple languages. Almost all his novels has debuted in top 3 Nielsen listing across India. His Forever series made it to the Times of India's most stunning books of 2017, while the Stranger Trilogy became a phenomenal hit amongst the young adults, with Amazon tagging it along with his erotic thriller Black Suits You as their memorable reads of the year. Selling over 2 million copies, he is India's most popular thriller novelist, known for his solid plotting, unpredictable twists, and strong female protagonists. He is also referred to as the Sidney Shelton of India by his readers. Apart from novels, he has written and developed several hit TV and original web shows for premier channels like Sony, Star Plus, and Zee. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
To moderate this session, we have with us Ms. Shreya Tinkhede, a film and lifestyle journalist who has worked in print and digital media. After working as a cultural reporter in the Times of India, Nagpur, she hopped onto the cinematic stage of journalism and worked as a film critic and writer with Times Now, Zoom, and Asianet Newsable. Impressed by the world of movies and her passion for storytelling and acting, she recently completed her acting training from Saurabh Sachdev's The Actor's Truth in Mumbai, and is also a budding author. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
I must appreciate the guest for having accepted and structured this topic for a time frame of 40 minutes, inclusive of audience question hour. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, with a huge round of applause, over to the dignity.
Thank you so much. Am I audible? Yeah. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. And guys, it's gonna be a little, a little edgy session for today for sure. Today is the last day of our Orange City Literature Festival. It's the 6th edition. And what better way to end it on a note of a little bit of erotica, a little bit of dark romance, and a lot of talks about heartbreak. And I'm pretty sure that all of us are a member of Heartbreak Club. I mean, I am for sure. Who all are? Dil sabka toota yaar. Come on, just raise your hands, guys.
Thank God. That's why book aur bikengi.
Yeah. So to begin my first question, I just want you to give a brief to our audience. Ki, what is dark romance?
What is dark romance? I don't know whether I'll be able to define it per se, but any romance that doesn't have much of coochie cooing and all those things. Baby, did you have your dinner? Baby, did you have your lunch? Those kind of romance is not dark romance. Dark romance somewhere stems out from a character's real problem and how they find someone else to either share the problem or someone else comes and aggravates the problem, and thereby pushing the character into certain dark zones, which we all kind of get into in our lives, but because the design of our society is such that we can't talk it out much with people, and that's why we have more mental health problem people, because we cannot talk about all these things. So somewhere dark romance kind of harbors into the impossibility of two people being together. and the impossibility of they being together and how nerve-wracking that scenario is. In a nutshell, that's dark romance. Obviously, it has its own lighter moments, but predominantly it focuses on emotions which are sometimes sometimes it can go into that toxic level also, but nevertheless, it's romance, so people welcome it as well.
Absolutely. These days, everything has become too sensitive, for us to consume in terms of social media or in terms of films that we watch, and obviously books. So, dark romance to me feels like a new gateway wherein certain emotions are validated per se. I feel it's more like your intrusive thoughts are winning, and no one is telling you that, what, just shut up. You're not supposed to think that way. So, as a writer, when you decided to dive into this sort of a genre, did you put any constraint on your characters that they should be morally correct, or you just went all out?
No, in fact, none of my characters are morally correct, because they are so gray that I always keep getting this from my readers, that they have a lot of questions about the characters, that why did she do that, why did he do that, because I think we have been trained as readers and consumers of stories that the hero has to be perfect, or the heroine, has to be perfect somewhere, even though none of us are perfect. We cannot invest time on flawed heroes, but all my characters and heroes are flawed, because I feel flaw is so much real. And people talk about relatability. People talk about how do I connect to we don't connect to the goodness of people. I think we always connect to the flaws of someone. And when we see that someone as flawed as I am, then somewhere we relate and our heart is into that character, So I feel flawed is a good thing. And there's a new term also these days youngsters use, is flawsome, which is like flawed and awesome, and I think slowly as a generation, it was not there when I was growing up, but now slowly with this new generation Gen Z, or the alphas are too small now, but with the Gen Z, I think they are now opening up to dark stuff. When I'm saying dark stuff, as in, it's not that they are embracing it, but somewhere they're trying to negate it within themselves, and thereby I think if we start a kind of approaching the darkness within, somewhere we are also rinsing ourselves and becoming better human beings. It's very important to confront, because all these years that confrontation was not happening for some reason or the other. So I feel somewhere dark romance as a genre also, it helps people to understand, and it acts as a mirror basically, so they see themselves and they also realize, oh, I'm not the only odd one out here. There are things that happens with other characters and other people taken from real life, and thereby the overall connectivity increases as well.
Yeah, so that's why they say that books are like an escape.
Yeah, totally.
And,
books or stories per se, because that's the power of story, because even though it's a fictional story, but yet you will cry in the end, you will cry in the middle, you will laugh with the character, because somewhere the truth of the story is connecting with the truth of your truth, and I think, and the mode can be different, can be a cinema, it can be an OTT web series or a television serial or a book. But I think the major attempt of art is to make you connect with your truth by telling someone else's truth. And that's the universal thing that happens,
That was beautifully put. Art helps you to go back to your roots. It connects you.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big takeaway. Everything should note it down. And even as a actor myself, we just had a chat, and it just resonated with me so well that art saves you. It really does. And if something is going wrong in life, and the best way to start with it is कि शायद मैं कल से एक्टिंग ना कर पाऊँ, लेकिन मैं आज और अभी से लिख जरूर सकती हूँ.
बिल्कुल.
So on that note, what do you want to tell? I'm sure we have a room full of people who want to become writers. Everyone is thinking about writing something. Do we have any budding writers in the room? Yeah, any more?
What I figured out is that in India, अगर budding writer नहीं भी है, कहानी सबके पास है.
Right.
So and everyone knows that कहानी ऐसे नहीं ऐसे बोलनी चाहिए थी. ऐसे नहीं. So everyone is an expert already. But good to see that there are others who are willing to take it professionally.
Absolutely. Coming back to our topic, love, loss, and second chance. So whenever we talk about love, loss आ ही जाता है साथ में. It tags along. Okay. There is no one in this
When we
entire.
talk about loss, love आ ही जाता है.
Yeah. And then the mind goes on to should we or should we not with the second chances. So, do you think, as a writer, that second chances are over romanticized?
No, I feel there should be second, third, fourth chance. I mean, it's one life, you know.
But how long should it last?
I mean, depends on the context of the second chance. You know, are you like, for example, if your partner is cheating on you? Now, I'm not saying that you give him n number of chances. You know, him or her. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, if your relationship with someone did not work out, then don't generalize it and assume that nobody is going to come out for you. So I'm talking about second chance from a different context. So, matlab, if one person turns out to be a bad human being for you, doesn't mean everybody. So you have to give yourself that second chance. And because second chances are also about hope, and I think what is there in life if not hope? If you're not hopeful, then everything's dead. So I think you have to give yourself second, third, or whatever kind of chances, and you have to believe that one person cannot define or your general take in human beings. A lot of people come and say that I find relationship very toxic. I find because most of my target audiences books are for women, so they come to me and say that these men are toxic. That guy was, and I ask them how many relationships you had, and they tell me only one. We are a population of 8 billion in this earth, and you met one person, and you are saying that so many billion people are bad. I mean, that's not a fair decision to make. Though I understand why it happens, where it comes from, because human mind has a tendency to generalize everything. If I have come to Nagpur, if I have one single bad experience here, I'll say, yaar, Nagpur to achhi jagah nahi hai. But that's wrong. वो जो experience है वो अच्छा नहीं हुआ होगा. That doesn't mean the entire city is bad. We do it in our personal lives also. We go, generally. So my point is that from the context of you giving yourself chances, I think you should always be hopeful that there is light somewhere, and one should take everything as an experience too, because we are all constantly evolving, right? We all are alive here. There's a takeaway from everything. We are chatting, we are talking here, these people are listening, or I'll be talking to them. There is a takeaway always, and that's how we are evolving. A book, when you read a book, even if it's a fiction book, a good book is something that by the end of the book, you feel there's a dialogue that has happened between you, the characters, and you, which helps you to sometimes answers a lot of questions, or sometimes even raise few questions also. So I think second chances are very important, and but sometimes people, because we have made it we have romanticized the idea of, I'm a one woman man and be one woman man, be a one man woman, one at a time, I mean. But don't, if someone is not working out for you, or some relationship is not working out for you, don't get into a shell, because that's unhealthy is what I feel. And obviously it's very easier said than done, because there's so much of emotions that come in, your investment of time. There are so many people that, I've known that they have dated for 8 years and then broken off. And 8 years is a long of time, especially when you're dating in your 20s and you have gone into your 30s together, which means that your entire 20s you've given to one single person. It's not easy to negate that if it didn't work out. I mean, I'm not saying that it's very easy to, give yourself second chances. But still, what you can do is make your 30s better. Because if you don't give any more chances to yourself, the 20s are gone. Even the 30s, you'll not be able to enjoy or live. So I think second chances are important, and it's always important to be hopeful towards life. I think it's very easy to disintegrate. It's very easy to deconstruct, but it's all the more difficult. And because it's difficult, it's all the more necessary to construct yourself continuously, And somewhere, you'll get lucky and some person will come. And I'm not saying you have to wait for that person to come, within yourself, you are a complete person. But you need someone to just, kind of have that dialogue, which you cannot have with everybody, So answering question, I think second chances are important and necessary and somewhere justified also.
Right. So can we put it this way that it's good that I am nice with myself, but with him or her, we are better together?
Yeah, I mean, if that's how you also want to look at it, that's also, great. And as long as you are happy and you are at peace, don't, because a lot of people also sometimes get into this weird cycle of troubling oneself. I get to hear this from a lot of ladies that, वो तो बहुत abusive है relationship में ये है. but छोड़ दो ना, but छोड़ते भी नहीं है, you know. Why? I mean, that's a very weird psychology. You are complaining on one hand that he hits me or whatever, and then you are not leaving the person also, and then you have extra 100 excuses for not leaving the person. But that cannot work that way, no? So that is again a psychology that needs to be addressed, talked about, and somewhere I think it also comes from a lot of unfortunately in our society, women are not empowered as much as they should be, right? Starting from home.
Emotionally, for
Definitely,
sure.
yeah, because it starts from home. You know, it's not about something that you have to necessarily learn in your college or school. At home also, the girls are not as empowered. You know, they are not given that voice in front of their fathers or their mothers or everything. You know, so that's also important. How you're training your girls and boys. It all comes to that, because I think the adult life that we live and our reflection and how we treat a relationship has got so much to do with our upbringing. You know, me as an adult, all my bad stuff and good stuff are an echo of how my parents trained me. Parenting is also not talked about in India much, but parenting is so important. It is so important. It's such a thin line, because kids pick up so many things subconsciously from parents, and we think, अरे ये तो स्कूल से सीख के आया है, घर में ही सब subconsciously बच्चे सीख रहे हैं. You know, one of the prime examples of today's time is you see your parents with a mobile phone, the kid will go, and then we complain, अरे बच्चा mobile phone के बिना खाता नहीं है. That's because तुम mobile के बिना भी नहीं खा रहे हो. You know, you leave your mobile phone behind, the child will never ask for a mobile phone. But we can't do it because we are also imprisoned with this technology and all. So I think it has to begin from home, and then it has to go to the adult life. It cannot suddenly, adult life cannot be rectified, because the foundation of it is in the childhood. As Freud has said, everything that we do has a thing in the childhood only. Because in storytelling also we say backstory क्या है. Backstory इसलिए हम पूछते हैं because था क्या इंसान, उसको उससे हमें समझ में आएगी कि what he became. So that backstory is very important.
Absolutely. See, even it's in our day-to-day lives, sometime with girls, generally, I'm just giving a general opinion, we put on a nice dress and we are like just about to get out of our house. One will be like, itna अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है. It's not suiting your body type per se. Or maybe if you had done your hair this way, why don't you straighten your curls or curl your straight hair? Maybe you would have looked better. Even for men. You know, it's not just exclusive to women at all.
I was coming to that. It's not that only girls. या मर्दों के साथ भी बहुत जुल्म होते हैं.
Men as well. जंगली जैसे बाल लग रहे हैं.
सबसे बड़ा जुल्म तो मैं अभी बता देता हूँ, ये होता है कि बचपन से, अरे तू लड़की है क्या, रो क्यों रहा है? अरे रोने दो यार. It's healthy. Sometimes very healthy to cry. Why cannot men cry?
जंगली जैसे बाल बढ़ा लिए.
Yeah, what is this hype of, you know, तू मर्द है तो तू मर्द को दर्द नहीं हो, तो होता है. You know. And because यही चला हुआ है कि मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता, तो मर्द का कोई बोरोली नहीं है, बर्नॉल बना भी नहीं. You know what I mean? So it's equal, it's gender exclusive. As you rightly said, it's completely gender exclusive. Some things we talk about, some things don't, and we just accept it because we're conditioned to see some things that way only. You know.
It does bring us back to the point that it all starts from home. Yes, it really does start from home. And sometimes a lot of dreams also get crushed in the process. But I believe that when you feel that, you know, something you really want to do, and if it's not happening for you, the best way to do is sit with a pen and paper and write it out.
Expression of it obviously
Expression
helps.
is important, and that does bring us back to this whole idea of the session that writing or storytelling or sharing our experiences is such a vital part of a society. Even when two people are sitting together, they can talk about everything under the sun, and it's an expression. Yeah. And that's how great authors and writers are born as well. कुछ भी एक line लिख दो and it starts. You can shed more light on this if you.
It's basically expression of any kind, be it music, be it painting, be it storytelling, be it acting. All these are somewhere very therapeutic. You know, it helps you to heal firstly, it helps you to understand who you are. The moment you understand slowly, and it doesn't happen overnight, that one night I'll understand who I am. It doesn't happen that way. It takes a lot of years for you to understand yourself first. And when you understand yourself, you'll understand what are your wounds, what are your triggers, why are you behaving the way you are behaving with people that you say that you love. But sometimes why it is said that we hurt the person that we love the most. We do it because there are certain triggers which we also don't understand, you know. So it's art, I think, is a great reason to understand oneself. It's a passage to get inside. It's an inner journey, you know. And the more you do it, I think you understand your wounds better, and thereby you try to, at the end of it, become a much better version, refined version, in control version of yourself that you were born as, you know.
It's beautifully put. Can we give a round of applause for that thing, guys? Yeah, it was some sort of takeaway for sure. When I got to know that I'm going to interview you or going to moderate this session, the first thing that I did was I went to Amazon and I purchased 2 of your books. Remember Me As Yours and Black Suits You. Both genre parts, and then I tagged you also on Instagram because वो तो करना ज़रूरी है. Social media पे तो डालना ही है. क्या कर रहे हैं आप लाइफ में? And books के बारे में वो तो डालना ही चाहिए.
मुझे तो कभी भी लगता है सोशल मीडिया में नहीं किया तो लोग समझते हैं मरवर गए.
हाँ.
So sometimes you just need to post to say भाई जिंदा हूँ.
Very important, and especially if it's about books, फिर तो बताना ही
Yeah,
चाहिए
yeah.
लोगों को. So when I read Black Suits You, it was my first time reading a psychosexual thriller by an Indian author, which also makes you one of the firsts, right, to write and invent this word, as you said.
In a way, yeah.
In
I
a
think
way.
men don't write erotica internationally also.
Yeah. So we have a proper a novel which is on erotica, guys. So you should read this book. And when I read it, it blew my mind. I mean, in the entire narrative of the book, it surrounds around 3 very strong female characters. Blew my mind, and how. Which brings me back to my question. Do you think that Indian audience is ready for a genre like erotica? Have they found their calling in this or not?
No, I don't think Indian audience at large is ready for it because again, erotica has its own, connotations. I have seen people reading my book in Delhi Metro, chup chup ke also, and then telling me that they cannot buy it in front of their parents, especially Black Suits You, because that's the only erotica I have written. Rest are all thrillers. So I don't think they are ready because again, it comes back from how we are collecting these thoughts about, because we don't have sex education in school or colleges. We don't talk about, even 20 years, 25 years ago when I was in school, we used to have this hush-hush laughter when reproductive organs were being studied in biology class. Aaj bhi wahi ho raha hai, So when you don't talk about few things openly, and then you write a book and everything, obviously there might be takers, but they'll not do it openly, And there's a very thin line between erotica and obscenity and sleaze. People don't know what is the difference between the two, So that's also there, and we cannot educate people suddenly. It has to again come from the grassroots level where you have to introduce yourself, get your thoughts about some things very right. So when I wrote it, I was very hopeful that it became a roaring success for sure, the book. But what it also did was, readers till then who were reading my book, somehow they were up in arms saying ki, we cannot take so much of erotica and this thing. But it also opened up a different set of audience who that point in time had not read me, but they started with Black Suits You and they started reading me. So there was, there was a credit and debit both. But answering question, I think still we are not very ready to accept, and that's why you don't have erotica authors in India, So fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, but there are very few erotica writers. I don't even know one or two.
So do you think it does put a constraint on creative minds who really want to explore this genre?
Yeah, it does. Forward? It does. Of course it does. It does because as creative people, you don't want to limit yourselves. You want to say what you want to say. You want to speak your heart out. But when there are people who will misconstrue it, will misinterpret it, you will obviously in a greater period of time, you will not go for it, because there is... every artist wants their art to be consumed and appreciated. So if it's misinterpreted, then obviously it's a demotivation, right? So I think there is a limitation for sure.
Yeah. They often say that टूटे हुए दिल से संगीत निकलता है. There's a saying like that. But when it comes to acting, it's completely opposite. They do not want you to be nuts or an insane person. They want you to be very emotionally sane, to play a character which is wicked, psycho, or even abusive, or an alpha male, as you would say. There's some sort of silence when I use the word, right? But when it comes to writing, do you believe that if a person is going through an emotional turmoil or is going through a disruptive life and their mental health is at stake, do you think it's better for a writer to pursue writing a book in that state, or sanity is the umbrella over here? जितना मैं बेहतर हूँ, उतना मैं बेहतर लिख सकता हूँ. What do you prefer? Can really help an artist?
I think overall creativity ना थोड़ा सा disturbance से ही create हो सकती है. So if you are very at peace, that's why sadhus don't write books. Because if you're very much at peace, सारे पाप धुल गए हैं, life में सब कुछ कर लिया, फिर आप ध्यान में ही रहो, you don't have to come back from there. I think you need that kind of chaos, that fastidiousness, or that, you know, that constant thing in yourself that, you know, why is this happening, why is that happening? There's a sense of chaos, basically. A sense of chaos, I think, is very much necessary. It's not only for storytelling, even for painting, for music. You know, a lot of people say that, you know, music comes from a very deep level of grief, because it's their way of, you know, their reaction of how you handle it, you know. So I feel creativity as a whole resonates with disturbance, you know. It cannot, because again, because it's creation, right? You're creating. Mothers give birth to child because there's a labor pain. Without pain, there's no birth. So you can apply that idea to everything and every creation. Without pain, and pain comes from disturbance. You know, pain doesn't come suddenly or with everything in place. It comes from disturbance, and without that, I don't think any creation can happen, or any kind of creation can happen. So I always feel ki whenever I'm sad, I'm also happy, because now I know something will come out. You know, it's a very dichotomous situation for an artist. कि आप दुखी हो, लेकिन back of the mind आप happy भी हो कि आज मैं दुखी हूँ और मैं कुछ लिखूंगा. You know, but and obviously like शायरीज and all, very few happy शायर्स are there. You know, आज मैं खुश होके कोई शायरी लिखूंगा, ऐसा बहुत कम होता है. मतलब I don't think कि बहुत ज़्यादा होता होगा. You know, it's more about sadness. It's more about, because sadness gives you a lens to see deeper into things. You know, happiness is great, but it doesn't give you that lens to see deeper. You know, that's why लोगों के success से ज़्यादा दिमाग खराब होते हैं, failure से कम होता है. You know, a lot of people have destroyed themselves out of success than failure, because failure kinds of makes you grounded, and also it somewhere gives you a proper lensing of what the ground reality is, what's sensing. Success kinds of cuts that ribbon where the balloon goes off then, and you also you know, fly off. So I feel a certain bit of disturbance is necessary. Anyone who's trying to create, and one should not be very see, if you want to tell a story, if your life is a straight line, what are the stories you want to share? It has to have some kind of ups and downs. You know, then you become also very rich with experience, and that's when you understand people, write about them, or tell about them, or even act it out in a way. Because sometimes if a role comes to you and you need to, you know, borrow a certain emotion that you've seen in someone, you have not lived that emotion, but you've seen someone fighting that emotion, you will try to borrow it from there. Sometimes, I mean, it happens to person to person. So I feel that basic level of disturbance is very important for any creative person.
Yeah. So you've written so many novels, and each novel is so different from another. We often ask these questions to artists whose work we can see on screen. But I want to ask you, does writing this kind of stuff, sometimes it gets darker, sometimes nicer, erotica, sometimes bland, does it take a toll on your mental health? Has it ever happened? And if it does, what are your knickknacks to take care of yourself emotionally so you can write better and also do something better for your mental health if you're feeling blue?
Yeah, so there was this book called Roses of Blood Red, you know, and there was this character of one of Thakur, and that's the book. When I wrote that character, it just drained me in such a way that I thought I'll never be able to write again, because my emotional involvement in the book was a little too much. Generally, it should not be that much, because you should learn over time, not with your first book maybe, but over time you learn to keep a distance from your art also. You know, because it's like an actor trying to play a mad person, but he taking it so seriously, wo ghar pe bhi mad ho gaya. You know, you have to know that line where you have to stop and where you have to just tell yourself, this is his fiction, this is what you're creating, this is not you. That had happened with that book, and I really thought that I've kind of, you know, it's kind of difficult for him to make a comeback again to this thing. But I figured out the best way to, and it worked for me. So different things work for different people. What worked for me was, the best way of getting rid of a story is to step into another story. You know, so the moment the other stories started happening to me, occurring to me, slowly that weighed off, you know, they died off, completely went away, and I was so involved with the other one, and this time I had the experience of not involving myself too much emotionally with this characters, so I kind of relieved myself from it. But it can affect, I think it can affect. It also depends on how soft you are, because artists have to be a little bit of, there has to be a little bit of softness, because softness mein imprint aata hai na. If you are very strong, then there will be nothing that touches you or will be with you. So a certain bit of softness is very much necessary for artists. So, but that softness should not be that soft that it affects your personal life also. That's what my learning was while after writing the book. So my thing is, when one story, if you're not able to dissociate yourself with one story, you jump onto the next one. And that's a great way for me, at least, to kind of and what happens also is so much of it's also personal story. People keep asking me, ये आपके साथ हुआ था क्या, वो हुआ था क्या, ये हुआ था क्या, सब कुछ हुआ है. But the thing is, with fiction, you fine tune it a little bit. It's not that hubahu yahi hua tha. But the emotion that I'm trying to say is somewhere I must have felt somewhere, and I'm trying to borrow that emotion and write about it. Otherwise, with my readers, I'll not be able to do. They will know that I'm faking it. I don't want to fake it, because if I know that emotion, I've lived the emotion somewhere, then I'll be more genuine to my readers. Then it's a concept that if I cry in a scene which I'm writing, chances are someone reading it will also cry, because that's the energy transfer that is happening. Now, if I write a sad scene very happily, the energy will be very different and people might not find it that much, and that the impact will be less, So I always make it a point that I never write with a bad energy. If I feel I'm not up for it, I don't write that day. I don't follow those rules that you have to write every day. So if the energy is right, that this is what I want to feel, and then only write. So, and that's how precisely I kind of handle myself from not being affected. So one incident that happened early in my writing career was I had written the Stranger Trilogy, and the Stranger Trilogy was a lot about stalking, and because it was 3 books and it took me 1.5 years to write and finish all the 3 books, and I didn't know from where the stalking thing had come to me, and I suddenly realized in a mall I was walking, I was following this couple, and I don't know why I was following them. And suddenly, I had zoned out.
Character study.
Yeah, I was just zoned out, and then I stopped, and I like, what the hell am I doing? I don't even know them. Why am I following them? And that's when I realized that this can really get to you. You should be, because especially if you're writing dark stuff, it can get to you, and you should really know how to draw the line. And so that I learned very early, that you have to draw a line. You cannot just, किसी को भी कुछ कह के बोलो सर ये तो मेरा art है. They don't know what you're doing, So yeah.
So, which brings me to the this idea of artistic liberty, which in terms of social media and everything which is going on online, we have become so sensitive to the content that we consume these days. Films like Kabir Singh or Animal have sparked this debate over and over again. And they say that in this world wherein everything is available, it's just like a click away, picking up a book is the wisest thing that you can do. Dive into it, just have that experience, and just, make yourself feel better about your imagination. जैसे कि आपने कहा कि जो मेरे साथ हो रहा है वो बुक में किसी किरदार के साथ भी हुआ है, तो I feel better. I'm not the odd one out. So as a writer, do you think that, and yeah, you also have interest into film stuff. Your books has been adapted and also is going to be adapted. So आपको ऐसे लगता है कि आपके जो characters है वो morally correct अगर ना हो, तो वो सोसाइटी में या समाज में एक बैड इन्फ्लुएंस की तरह जा सकते हैं?
So I think एक तो ट्रेनिंग ही हमारी गलत हो गई है कि हमारी ट्रेनिंग ऐसा हुआ है सबके, मतलब इट्स एन ऑडियंस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू आई एम सेइंग, द ट्रेनिंग इज सच दैट आई डोंट लाइक दिस सो यू कैन नॉट मेक दिस. दैट शुड नॉट बी द केस. आई डोंट लाइक दिस, आई विल नॉट वॉच इट. You make what you want to make. I'll not watch it. Because, and that's a sign of a strength of a viewer. You are not stopping someone's freedom to do something. What I am choosing my freedom of not conforming to what you're saying, so I'll not watch it. Because the training is ulta. Here, what we are saying that, oh, you are writing some provocative stuff, you cannot write. But that's curtailing freedom. Why? They can write whatever they want to write. But why can't you choose what you want to watch? Don't watch. Because that way, I think a creative person has the liberty to write or do whatever they want to do. At least in this country where we are in a democratic country where, and obviously, if it's a propaganda-based thing, you will figure it out. And again, even if it's a propaganda-based thing, it's your choice not to watch it. No? Why are you watching it? Why are you sharing a reel which you don't believe in? We all do it. We send it to 1,000 WhatsApp groups, and that's how things which are atrociously bad, cringe-worthy, they become viral. Why are they becoming viral? Because somewhere I am and you are and another few people are forwarding it, right? Why can't I just stop it? Like on a few days back, I saw this video. It's a very weird video of a girl getting tortured somewhere in Rajasthan and all. People are sharing it on Twitter. But why? I'll give you a very popular example. I'm sure that you must be aware of this RG Kaur hospital rape case that had happened in Calcutta recently. Okay. So there were people on Twitter, which is now X, writing about it, who are not linked with the family. Okay. They're not linked. They're doing it because they may be feeling for the thing and all. But in a lot of cases, they have written the name of the girl. Did you have the permission of the parents? No. You don't even know the parents. But what gave you the freedom to write her name there? You could have created a name. Everybody will know whom you are talking about. But how can you do this? I was so shocked about this, and then I decided that I'll not write about this subject because I don't have the proper permissions. How can you write a name of a girl without asking the parents? Something bad has happened to her, and you are doing it, and people have gone ahead and manufactured the photographs from some profile, and they're sharing the photographs also. I mean, that's a condition of the society right now. Just because you think you put a hashtag Kolkata rape and more people will come to your profile and thereby X will give you more money because you are engaging more people, that's the choice that you have to make as a citizen, as an individual. What are you standing for? You are standing for a hashtag which will give you money, but at what cost? Look at the heinous thing that has happened. So my thing is, we should learn to exercise the choice of not doing something. Nahi, if it's wrong, I'll not hashtag something because I know I don't have the required permission. I know what must the parents have gone through. I will not do it. That is not being exercised. What is being exercised is, oh, you have made this. I don't like it. You cannot make anything else. That's not the way it goes. The freedom has to be there. The freedom of choice has to be there. Why are you watching it? If people had problems with animal, why did they go and watch it? How did it make 800 crore without people watching it? If you had the problem. So, I mean, we need to understand what is the real thing we are trying to tell. And because we are all conditioned in this, I think we have forgotten how to raise questions also. So those things are important when it comes to creative freedom and everything. But the important question is, at an individual level, are we kind of asking ourselves the right questions also? Yeah.
So can we put it like freedom of consumption?
Yeah.
To choose or to not to?
Yeah. And that is lacking right now. I think we should, because the moment the audience says we don't, like, I will not watch such kind of films because it's whatever. So automatically the producers will not make such films. But on one hand, you say this should not be made, you cannot have the right, but you go ahead and watch that film only. So obviously, when a disturbing film for a section of people makes 800 crores, obviously the producer will go and make a sequel. Second part, yeah. I'm not saying whether animals should be made or not. That's a separate debate. I'm taking it as an example and saying if people at large had problems with it, then they should not have watched it. And now you can ask me that if they had not watched it, how would they know whether they have a problem? But they are reading about it, right? They know what to tweet about, even without involving themselves on the Kolkata rape case. They know what to tweet about. So, so there is a dichotomy for sure.
I think it does put all of us in an inquiry as to what to share and what not to share on social media, even passively or subconsciously for
and
sure.
And this is the age of disinformation. You don't know what you are forwarding is true or not. It can be a fake thing, and some people might be killed because of that.
Yes. So my last question to you, before we take up questions from the audience, would be, if you have to sum all of this up, and if you want to offer, let's say, a piece of advice to anyone from the room who's going through some sort of loss and really wants to give second chance, then what would it be?
Okay, makes me sound like a counselor.
From a writer's perspective.
Yeah, मेरा तो QR code भी नहीं है कि payment ले लूँ मैं. I think the most important thing in case of any kind of loss is that we want as an individual to good things should happen overnight. Loss खत्म हो जाए, ये sense चली जाए. Overnight, it will not happen overnight. So I think the thing is, give it some time. Live your life. Nothing is the end of it. Till your heart is beating and your mind is working, nothing is the end of the world. God has made all of us in certain ways that the human spirit is so big that it can actually go ahead and do a lot of things that we cannot even imagine. So I think it's very important that we give time to the loss. And when I say time to the loss, it doesn't mean that you don't talk about the loss, confront it. Take it. study it the way it is, because that is going to, if you run away from it, it will come behind you and bite you. Confront it, study it, analyze it, and then slowly with time, branch out to life, live. And it's okay. Everyone has lost. It's nothing, don't make a great deal out of it. Everyone, and there's always one person who will be hit even more badly than you are. So think of that and live your life. I think life is so precious. So, think about your parents, think about your siblings and your friends. There are so many good things. Sometimes I also feel that we don't count our good things enough. It's one bad thing. You have a white, sheet of paper. You have one dot, black dot. You will all focus on the black dot. You'll forget that 99% of the paper is white. So that should be stopped. Because you should count your blessings. And blessings are enormous if you start counting them actually. So that's the only whatever.
I want to ask you this thing as a writer. What's that one ritual that you religiously follow that really helps you write your heart out well? Something that you have been doing for years now after writing these many novels. Something that works for you. Something that maybe people can get inspired from if they want to start writing their novel or book. Is it कि बहुत एक सुंदर decorative desk होना चाहिए? Is that important?
No. So in that way, I would say room थोड़ा dark होना चाहिए. I can't write in a flat light wala room, or I cannot go to a hill station. A lot of writers I've heard that hill station में जाके लिखेंगे सुंदर वादियाँ. सुंदर वादियाँ देख के तो कभी नहीं लिख सकता मैं. So I don't know. I mean, it works for different people differently. So for me, what works is it has to be a closed room, a little dark room, and which allows me to be with me, myself, and without the semblance of any presence anywhere. That's about it. Otherwise, I don't think I have any superstitious or any kind of practice like that.
Okay, thank you so much. We can take up questions from the audience.
Audience, yes. Mic, please.
Hello, check. First of all, sir, welcome to Nagpur.
Thank you so much.
I'm a huge fan of your work.
Thank you. What's your name?
I'm Dr. Astha Jatar. I was studying your work during COVID time because I always wanted to be a writer. So I have 3 questions for you. First of all, how do you come up with such interesting names? Your books got attention because their names were so interesting, like Cross Your Heart, Take My Name. And I picked up Half Torn Hearts because at the time it was resonating with me a lot. And underneath that, there was a tagline which said, how far will you go for love? Like how much are you willing to destroy yourself? Something of that sort. So my first question is, how do you come up with such interesting names? And the second question would be, I'll ask later on, but I really want to know, how do you come up with such interesting names for your story?
So the thing is, I'm a full-time author. So whatever it takes to get the books sell and give me money so that I can, get. But I think, with writing thrillers, the title is important, I guess, because title is the first thing that if you have not read my books ever, or someone, it's for a new reader, I'm saying, because an old reader, if they like a particular author's book, they will see the author's name, not the title, the first thing. But for a new reader, I think it's very important to have a striking name and, a name that, I don't know how I figure it out, it's something that has to resonate with you as a creator. Like you should know that this is it. This is the right name. I don't overthink it, but I don't like, boring names or a generalized name, so I wait for that title, which resonates with me, and I feel this is a title which can create a curiosity, yeah.
And my second question would be, I was reading Half Torn Hearts. In that book, the protagonist literally destroys herself. How does that apply in real life? We expect everyone to, we expect a selfless love, don't we? Where do we draw that line? Okay, we cannot be more selfless. This is it. We cannot destroy ourselves anymore. Is it idealistic in real world?
Yeah, but no, so the thing is that there's a very thin line between stupidity and self, this thing. And with only time and age and experience, you learn where to draw the line and where not to. If your love comes from pure innocence, then बहुत जोर की लगने वाली है फिर. Because you are innocent. You don't know about a lot of things, and the love truck is going to hit you hard. But with age and all, you know where to draw. I mean, it comes viscerally, honestly, you know. And in books, obviously, it's a fictional book, so you need to be a little more aspirational than reality. You know, अगर book में भी वो character कुछ भी ना करे, तो real में भी नहीं, क्योंकि book. Why do you read a book? Or why do you watch a film? Because you want the hero to do something extraordinary. You know, otherwise, why do you, you know, pay the bucks and buy the book? So in books, it might be a little ideal, but in real life, I think you know where to draw the line yourself with your experience. First time, it might be difficult. You know, you don't know because you're all out, all heart. But with experience, you know, that's why we use the phrase that I lost my innocence at certain age or certain time. That's what we mean, because we knew that the world is not what we perceive it as. There are, you know, the world is also full of wolves or whatever, you know. So yeah.
And my last question is to you as a writer. Where does a writer end and a character begin, and a character end and the person who's writing that begins? Because, you know, when you're writing, like, I've been working on a book for the last 5 years. When I started it, I was utterly heartbroken. I started as a means to save myself. But as I realized, as the time went on, 2 years, 3 years, I realized I was not in that heartbroken place anymore, and it became increasingly difficult to write. So what do I do when I'm trying to write a heartbreaking scenes, but I'm happy, and I'm trying to write a happy scene, but I'm utterly heartbroken because the plot is standing still at a certain point?
So it's very important. Every 2 years, you break your heart. So every time you are like, अब तो मैं सही हो गया, but एक और heartbreak आ गया. Now एक और novel लिखूंगा मैं. You know, so I think it's important. I mean, jokes apart, but it's very, see, this is what I meant when you have to go deeper into your own wounds. That wound cannot be just one wound. I mean, either that wound has to be one or very deep that you draw out so much of inspiration out of it, or you have to, and you cannot consciously seek it. You know, you cannot enter a relationship saying, 2 saal baad to I'll break it and then I'll write a book. You cannot do that. But you have to somehow, I don't know, it happens with artist's life, I think. Somehow, every time you think that things will be okay, all right, you know, a blow comes, you know, and you have to preserve that within yourself. You cannot move ahead. You know, that's what I meant when I say that when I'm sad, I'm happy too. Because I know that this sadness is going to, I will kind of milk it somewhere in my stories. So you need to preserve those emotions within yourself, and you move on, but you don't completely move on. Otherwise, then you'll kind of be in two places. How do I write this and how do I feel about it? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, one last question, please.
Last but not the least, thank you for the opportunity.
It would definitely not be the least.
Yeah,
Please
thank
go
you so
ahead.
much. Sir, I really got inspired by your words. आपकी बातें सुनने के बाद मुझे ऐसा लगा कि जब इंसान धूप से गुजरता है तभी उसको छाँव का एहसास होता है. So likewise, sir, we never learn from our experiences, we learn from our bad experiences. So I truly believe that, sir, कि हमारी जो triple E formula होता है, that exists in our life, that makes our attitude. That is, first one is our environment, what comes from our upbringing. Second thing is about the education, and the last thing is about our experiences, as you told that. Sir, अगर बच्चे का attitude एक optimistic हो, positive हो, तो that is in a good direction. बट अगर किसी बच्चे का एटीट्यूड नेगेटिव हो तो उसे हम सर कैसे बाहर ला सकते हैं, क्योंकि कंफर्ट जोन में जाने के बाद उससे बाहर निकलना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. और हम जो एक गॉगल पहन लेते हैं जिस कलर का भी, तो हमारा नज़रिया वैसा ही बन जाता है. तो बीइंग अ काउंसलर सर, मैं आपसे सीखना चाहूँगा कि आप बीइंग अ राइटर से क्या बताना चाहेंगे, क्या एड्रेस करना चाहेंगे कि जो स्टूडेंट्स के नज़रिए नेगेटिव है, नकारात्मक सोच बन गई है, तो उन्हें सकारात्मक लाने में सर कैसी मदद कर सकते हैं, प्लीज़.
आई थिंक पॉजिटिव सोच में किसी इंडिविजुअल को बदलना एक तो बहुत सब्जेक्टिव टर्म है ये, क्योंकि हर इंडिविजुअल के अपने कुछ फितरत होते हैं, कुछ इंडिविजुअल पर्सनालिटी टाइप्स होते हैं. मुझे लगता है कि व्हाट इज़ मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट इज़ टू फर्स्ट अंडरस्टैंड द पर्सन, व्हाई द पर्सन इज़ द वे ही इज़. एंड आई डोंट थिंक pessimism is very bad inherently. It becomes bad when you treat everything that way. एक होता है कुछ लोग इंट्रोवर्ट होते हैं, ओके, बट डजंट मीन कि इंट्रोवर्ट बुरे लोग होते हैं. They go about life, they become successful also, but they're introvert people. And some people are extrovert people. वो जहाँ भी जाएंगे बातें करेंगे. Doesn't mean कि everyone has to be an extrovert. Doesn't mean that. I think what is more important is to understand the person first. Where is it coming from? Is it something that कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि आपके father थोड़े introvert है, आप भी introvert, so it's a generic thing. It happens in a lot of personality type people pick up. But if you think that there is something which has happened because it didn't get a vent or it has been unnegated, then I think that issue needs to be addressed. You know, is it a knot because of which the person is not able to, or ऐसा कोई हादसा हुआ है बिकॉज ऑफ विच उसने जनरलाइज कर लिया दिमाग में और हर चीज़ उसी नज़रिए से उसी लेंस से देख रहा है. Then it needs to be worked upon. Again, overnight तो नहीं होगा. It is a personality exercise, so you have to keep on doing, be at it. But as long as it is not affecting his or her life around, I think it's still okay. As long as अगर पूरा life affect हो रहा है and the way he sees things is kind of not letting him reach his potential, then it needs to be addressed. And addressed again, not overnight. Slowly it needs to be worked upon, and then hopefully, and a lot of it also depends on the person who is receiving it. Whether the person is receiving and ready to change. A lot of time we are not ready to change. As they say, when a student is ready, a teacher appears. But you have to be ready to accept my flaws or whatever, and then be changing. Otherwise, counselor या हम लोग जो भी बोलते रहेंगे वो सुनते रहेंगे पर करेंगे कुछ नहीं. तो फिर there's no change again. So yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your time.
Thank
Please.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, dignitaries, for making this evening so very wonderful. I'm sure the audience would be taking a great spark of thought and ideas that were shared by you in this session.
Actually, I want to add on one thing. I'm really glad that how this session started on a writer's point of view and went on to an emotional retreat. So I really want to thank you for that.
No, that's what happens on my Instagram DM as well.
Yes.
Because I become this love guru / counselor / whatever, without even charging anyone anything.
But I think I can speak for everyone that we did have a lot of takeaways from this session, right, guys? Yeah, there was a lot of emotional narrative that is put into place. So really thank you for that.
Thank you.
It was lovely having this conversation with you. A round of applause, please.
Yes. Thank you so much, Aman. I think when you involve yourself in a unstructured conversation, I think the takeaways are always more than a structured ones.
True.
Because then you're planning and you're ye bolunga, whatever. But glad I hope there's some takeaway, and I hope to visit Nagpur soon again. It welcomed me with a hint of winter, which I was missing in Bombay. So loved it. But thank you all for your patient hearing and all. Thank you.
Thank you, audience. Thank you for joining us. We will meet you soon in the upcoming sessions of OCLF. Happy wisdom.